Welcome, everyone. I'm just giving everyone a couple of seconds to roll in before we kick it off.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. We have a good group coming in, so I'm going to get started because I know time is precious and we only have 45 minutes with you today. We are so excited to be here. Thank you for joining us before your long weekend celebrations. Really excited today to have an open discussion talking about retaining and converting leads, specifically website leads, and all of the different ideas, and just have a really great conversation with our special guests today on this topic. If you could jump forward, thank you. I am Lauren Ellison. I work for Lead Squared. I've been here for almost 2.5 years. Prior to my position here, I worked at an online post-licensure nursing university for 10 years. So I've been in the higher education role. I've worked in admissions. So I'm really excited to be part of the conversation today. And I'll hand it over to Piyush.
Okay, thanks, Lauren, and thanks everyone for joining in. I'm Piyush. I lead this product called FlowStack, which is a company I started in 2022, later acquired by Lead Squared. And we are all about enrollment technology and increasing conversions through lead engagement. This topic is extremely close to my heart. And with that, let me also introduce you to our expert panelist. So thank you so much, Najib, for joining us. And Najib, or AJ to most of us, has been in the education game for more than 23 years, which is a lot in education years. And he has spent more than 2 decades in mid to upper and executive level management. Came to US from Germany in 1992, which we thank him for, because since then he has been working towards transforming education industry and career training. And knowing Najib, I know that he has a very distinct leadership style. He calls it servant leadership approach, which is an absolutely apt term, because whenever I've interacted with him, he's all about developing people, developing individuals to their fullest potential and guiding them, mentoring them. And specifically, what I want to mention about Najib for the group is whenever I've interacted with him, I've seen an amazing mix of wisdom and humor put together. So, which is something I really appreciate, which is something many people connect with. So once again, thanks Najib for joining us. He's currently the Chief Operating Officer over at California Career Institute. And also recently, he was appointed as a board member at Junior Achievement of Orange County and Inland Empire, because apparently he was not busy enough. So Najib, thank you so much for bringing this amazing experience and expertise to the panel today. And why don't you actually tell us about your stint with Junior Achievement and what that is all about?
Sure. Well, thank you for having me, Piyush, Lauren and Richik. I'm feel honored that you have reached out to me and asked me to be your expert panelist. So yeah, I've shared with the group earlier a little bit about my recent appointment to the board of Junior Achievement. It is an organization that's been around for over 100 years and it's been actually nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize before. And the organization really focuses on early intervention with young adults, high school students, middle school students, to promote, enhance their financial literacy and professional development. So a lot of the people that were on the board were CEOs, senior vice presidents of U.S. Bank, the Orange County Department of Education, the Chase Bank. There were a bunch of banks present today. That Deloitte that were in one way or another early on in their high school time were involved in with Junior Achievement in one of their programs and have been given the opportunity to catapult their careers while in school, forging the relationships with the professionals up on top and going through their college education, going through career education, and then making that breakthrough into the corporate world. So yeah, it was an eye-opening event this morning. I just been in meetings since 7:30 this morning a.m. I'm sure everybody knows how that goes, and I'm glad to be here. I mean, education is very close to my heart, and I've started in this industry in admissions 20-something years ago, 23 or so years ago, and have never lost touch with that department. As a matter of fact, Piyush can attest to it. Up until today, I'm still involved heavily in admissions. So thank you, guys.
Thank you. Welcome again to our expert panel. And Najib, you're absolutely right. I mean, you have a wealth of experience across the states, across east to west, north to south, across beauty schools, across healthcare schools. But I want to start off a sort of an icebreaker, and I'm going to throw you a curveball, Najib. So you also have an avid interest in classical music, and you are a trained musician. You've learned music. Now, what aspects of music training and performance do you think admissions advisors can learn from?
Admissions advisors, from picking up any kind of instrument or even if they're vocalists, it's the training and the consistency in their training. So they will definitely pick up consistency, which is a very strong component of the admissions process, is to understand how to follow processes and duplicate them and consistently apply them to their day-to-day approaches with potential students. And once you become an expert with, for example, playing an instrument, let's say the guitar or a sitar, like what I do, and you play the scales up and down, up and down, up and down, over and over again, you become an expert, and you can just go blindfolded and you can do it phenomenal. Now you start improvising. Now you can go ahead and adjust and improvise and make it even better yourself. And I think that is one of the things that anybody can take away from that.
Great. Thank you so much. These are great points. And I hope we have some admission advisors in the audience today. Guys, please feel free to use the chat for your questions or use the question section. We will take them at the end of the session. Once again, thanks for the audience that is still trickling in. Really appreciate your time this morning. So I've had the opportunity to interact with Najib when we were, discussing FlowStack earlier this year. And one of the key problem statements that we wanted to discuss on was that schools are spending marketing money to get leads to their website. Leads land on the website, are liking what they're seeing. They're signing up on the request for information form. So that is a sign of intent. But then when it comes to phone calls, they are not answering phone calls. They don't end up picking calls. And we often end up losing these leads who actually signed up themselves on the RFI form. So Najib, what we want to understand broadly is, where are we losing these leads who showed intent to begin with?
Well, from my experience, and I'm sure everybody can attest to this in this meeting, when we are presented with a lead that comes in, it's really what it comes down to is the speed to lead. Is contacting them before somebody else contacts them. I've seen where some of the reps sometimes, get overwhelmed with the sheer amount of leads that they get received, to where they cannot provide that service to that particular lead. So they're on the phone with a follow-up call, and it goes into explaining the process and maybe a presentation. And that rep now all of a sudden is bombarded with 5, 6, 7, 8 leads coming in, and they cannot go ahead and stop the call, stop the presentation, and just go ahead and start calling all these leads back, right? So that's where the challenge comes in, and most of the leads are lost at that stage, because if they wait an hour to call them back, you'll have 5 other schools already contact them, set appointments with them, and probably already engaged engage with them to come in for an interview and start the enrollment process.
Great. I think that's actually a perfect segue into our first poll about Speed to Lead. I know Speed to Lead is going to be a very hot topic today. So Risha, could you launch that poll for us, please? Perfect. How soon are you able to establish contact with the lead when they visit your site? Is it less than an hour, within 24 hours, usually between 24 and 48 hours, or more than 48 hours? And I'd say consider during the business week, right? Like exclude weekends. We have a bunch of results rolling in. And we'll publish the results here in a second, but it looks like we're pretty evenly split between less than an hour and within 24 hours. So most people are reaching out to that lead within the day, which is great. One thing I am really curious about, Najib, you mentioned, you may have so many leads coming in that it's really hard to contact all of these people in a timely manner, right? Like, how do you handle ensuring you're getting quality leads, or are you more of the philosophy that like we want as many leads as we can get and then we will try to convert whomever we can?
Good question, Lauren. I want as many leads as I can get that are convertible and of best quality, of course. So a little bit of both. So you want the quality leads, the leads that are truly interested. They are not provided with a pop-up, that they can get out of, they have to fill something out in order to move on. But, somebody that really is prompted to, engage, reach out to the school. I really want to learn more about this. I want to start a career in this field or that field. And then, get as many leads as possible, of course. Now, I forgot to mention, it's not necessarily, we have, there's so many schools, and I've worked in all the different type of categories where you have lead rich school, lead poor schools. Now, even in the lead poor schools where, sometimes admissions reps lose the sight of all the leads to where, especially with lead poor schools where you have to apply much more follow-up. And then all of a sudden, it's a manual process, right? And, if there was something that would prompt the rep to reach out to them automatically, you can schedule everything, but, scheduling hundreds of leads, it's a task in itself. I think it's a time wasting exercise. But, if you had a system that would reach out to the student automatically on a regular schedule, just to kind of prompt them, hey, we haven't heard back from you, why don't you reach out to your admissions rep at this number? So you close the gap and prevent leads from falling through the cracks and being forgotten, right? And so that's I think something that is most beneficial.
And kind of along the same lines, if you are a more lead rich school, how do you ensure the advisors don't get, laid back or complacent, and to make sure speed to lead is still a priority, even if you have a ton of leads available to convert?
So that is a challenge for all schools, regardless. It just, you don't have the physical ability to speak on 5 or 6 different lines to 5 or 6 different people with 5 or 6 different situations. So it does require something, and this is why I reach out to PO and engage with Piyush with a flow stack, because if you have somebody, because right now there's the most of the CRMs have the ability to send out automated text, automated emails, but it's not personal, right? And so you lose that personal touch. And most of those messages really seem canned. No matter how well of a writer you are, they always look canned because students can smell that a mile against the wind. So they know it's automated, and then sometimes you have glitches in the system, and all of a sudden you get a bunch of text at once or a bunch of emails at once, and then you're stuck. You lost that lead. It's gone. So you need something that is on a much more personal basis that looks more like, hey, this is an actual person reaching out to me, trying to connect with me.
Great. I just want to piggyback on that really quick, if that's okay.
Okay.
Do you have any specific content ideas for maybe that first automated text message that you're sending, or something that really catches their eye to make it feel like it is a personal message and to stand out from the
Well,
rest?
one thing is, having a profile or something like that, off the rep themselves, definitely helps. The profile picture, so they can put a face to the name. That kind of concept will help. And then, of course, the message in itself. And I like to, teach the admissions teams that I've overseen, and even up until today, we tend to go micro to macro, like going from, hey, you're looking for some information for the medical assisting program. I rather take the opposite approach, go macro to micro, and said, hey, I see that you want to start a career in the healthcare field. Now, so it's a broad and wide open message, to where they can say, oh yeah, so they don't get that chance to say no. No, I'm not looking for information for medical assisting. I'm not looking for information for cosmetology or dermatology or whatever it is. But it's more like, hey, you're looking to start a career in XYZ field. And they're like, yes, I am. Right? And then you can go from there and just go into the micro.
Right. And Najib, see, eventually after this personalized experience or personalized sort of engagement at the initial top of the funnel is done, the advisor has to interact with the lead. And there's usually a phone call or a campus tour engagement. And I see two camps here. One is that, hey, this is the process. This is your script. If they ask this question, this is the answer. This is what you tell them about cosmetology or medical assisting. And this is what you tell them about financial aid. And then there is this other camp who talks a lot about empathy in conversation, or avoiding that buyer-seller relationship and introducing enablement in their conversation. What do you think is usually the right approach?
So the first approach is, the scripted approach is, something that I grew up with back in 20-something years ago. And I think, I don't want to take it on myself, but, I with my team, I took a different approach. Let's take the framework of that conversation, and have, for example, we want, what are we trying to get out of this information, out of this interview, out of this conversation, and then have that empathetic approach with the student based on those headers. For example, you want to know about their work background. You want to know about their school background, their school history, the educational history. You want to know about their future endeavors. What are they looking to do, and what have they done so far, right? So that is a script. You have 5 headers, right? And then you go ahead and customize based on the students' responses. You customize your conversation, but you never lose track of the conversation.
Right. And Najib, what are the 3 key things that you look in an admissions advisor when you're hiring them?
When I hire them, I
3 characteristics or traits.
Intelligence. So if you have an intelligent person in front of you, you can get anything done. But really, as somebody that has a good work ethic, that can be consistent and is compassionate.
Makes a lot of sense. Yes. Because I think in our experience working across career training schools, we've also seen that it's not usually about being the first to call. It's about being the first to establish a meaningful relationship, to establish that rapport with that prospective student. And that has a real impact on lead conversion rates in this entire admissions process. So Najib, with that, basically, I want to talk about a fun segment. Let's do a quick segue. Uh, can you tell us about one admissions nightmare story? A fun nightmare story that the audience can learn from.
Holy cow. Well,
Where do we start?
like I told you, I don't have nightmares anymore, so that's a good thing. I had an experience as a director of admissions. I had a very large team. I had about 22 or 23 reps that worked for me.
Wow.
And so I was fairly new and fresh in my role. So I only had, about 5 years of experience as a director of admissions. And that's a very large team to take on. So, the nightmare I had is to get everybody on the same page. It's kind of streamlining, but yet still having it personalized. And so I had my campus president used to come at that time, just looking for me all the time. I said, "Where's Najib? Where's Najib?" And he said, "He's all over the place." So we had a cube farm with 23 reps, and I was running from cube to cube to cube to cube, and just ensuring that everybody is doing this, is on track and following the processes and things like that. Training by itself never worked unless you would follow up and ensure that it was implemented, right?
Yeah.
So I had to come up with a concept, and it took, goodness gracious, about 3 months to get everybody on board, to make sure, first of all, to run from cubicle to cubicle and making sure that everybody is doing what they're supposed to do, and then get everybody on the same page, bringing up the logic and explaining the logic behind all of the expectations, and to where I had a buy-in from 23 reps, and everybody was supporting the concept, and then getting everything back on to being very good. As a matter of fact, that campus, we started with roughly 487 students population. It was a suffering campus with 7 reps. And it was a lead-rich school. So we had a lot of leads. And so, like you said earlier, reps became complacent, and they're cherry-picked and let all the other leads just go to waste. The senior vice president of operations came down to the campus and said, "Najib, so what can we do about this?" I said, "Well, cut my leads in half." I said, "What? You can't do this." I said, "All right, then allow me to hire up to where we have about 100, 120 leads per rep." And that's when we got to about 23 reps, and it really made a difference, because now we were able to implement speed to lead and quality follow-up on the leads and the enrollments and all the other conversion activities. So it's either, having a system that allows you with a smaller group of reps to handle a large amount of leads, or just bite the bullet and increase your payroll and higher up.
Great. That's a great story. That's a great nightmare story with a great ending, actually. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I think, speaking of cherry picking too, just curious if you have different contact strategies based on lead source or advisor historical performance. Like, do you have certain groups of advisors working with certain lead sources or certain programs, that kind of thing?
Lead source, a lead is a lead. It doesn't matter where it comes from. All right. So that, take that away. The lead source management. I had a rep, as a matter of fact, on the same campus, blaming me that I would give all the good leads to the new reps. That's why they are so successful for the first 3 months, right? So I took my laptop, turned it around, said, "Here, pick any lead you want. You have free reign." I said, "Which ones are the good ones?" What do I know, right? But yeah, so I go by program, like especially here where we are, California Career Institute, we have, the nursing and allied health programs. And so I have reps dedicated to certain programs that would reach out to those interested leads.
Perfect. Yeah, that's actually how we did it as well at my post-licensure nursing school. I feel like when you have those really specialty programs, it is helpful to have that expert that can build the relationship with the
Correct.
lead.
Absolutely.
Okay, cool. Can we launch the second poll, please, Rishik?
And while that happens, Najib, maybe I'll do a follow-up on the previous one. Do you think an advisor's historical performance has an impact on what kind of leads you want to give them, or whether you want to give them more or less, or do you want to keep it fairly fair?
So again, leads have different, I don't want to say qualities, but it's what the rep makes with them. I mean, there's some people that really, you have the ones that don't have anything better to do than, mess with you. And you just fill in their name and do this, and yes, call me, and they never answer the phone. Or they give you some wrong phone numbers or wrong email addresses and whatnot. But no, I usually what I do is based on their KPIs, I adjust the percentage of lead flow. For example, you have two nursing representatives, two nursing reps, and one has a higher lead to enrollment conversion, for example. So they're actually utilizing that process a little bit stronger than rep B. So I would give them 60% of the lead and the other one 40% of the lead of the leads coming in, and allowing that other person that is performing a little bit weaker or not as strong as the other one, an opportunity to implement a qualitative approach to where they're not getting bombarded with all the leads, and then it becomes a vicious cycle. But this will allow that rep now to kind of hone in on what they have at a lower rate, and then really refine their skill set to where they have gained the ability to deal with a higher amount of leads.
Got it.
Yeah, I love that strategy of focusing more on like the quality, and then once they kind of get that under the belt, they can ramp up with the quantity, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Because if you keep it quantitative, a high quantity of leads for all reps at all times, then you'll have the underperformer always underperforming. You don't give them a fair chance to hone in on refining skill, refining approaches, and then ramp back up.
Yeah, that's a really great point. And kind of speaking of analytics, Piyush, did you want to say something?
Sorry, Lawrence. Sorry to interrupt the flow. I just wanted to remind the audience, please use chat to post your questions. We will definitely take all of them at the end of this discussion. Sorry, Lauren, go ahead.
No problem. Just kind of along the topic of analytics, we did ask the audience how much they're relying on analytics to shape their marketing strategy. And it looks like 65% is saying moderately. So they're using analytics alongside other factors to shape it. And only 5% said extensively. And then a few other people said rarely or not at all. So I know you can use the analytics in a lot of ways, right? Looking at conversion rates to understand how many leads an individual advisor can handle in any given month. You can also use it to understand which lead sources are performing. So one thing we want to talk a little bit about is like, are you using any kind of website tracking or trying to understand intent for furthering their education or predicting possible questions, or like building any kind of personas for the people who are interested in your school to help inform your conversations or build marketing collateral and things like that?
Well, most definitely. I mean, we engage our marketing department. Just one good thing is that we have now went from third-party marketing companies to an in-house marketing team. And they really go and analyze the lead sources. They look at, what age groups are engaging, what age groups are reacting to certain types of leads. And then they look at, are those demographics, are they converting or not? And at what rate are they converting, right? And why are they converting or not converting? And so we can look at it, what are the demands of the industry? What is, the ambition of that person wanting to get into that particular industry? And what age group are they? What demographic are they coming from? And, sometimes it's misleading also, because we see, for example, especially on social media, we see the Facebook leads, on Meta is going up. And we look at it, it's like, these are all, 40 to 65. I'm like, where is that coming from? And then, it dawned to us, it's like, oh my God, those are parents looking for schools for their kids, right? So reach out to them, and yes, it turns out these are parents. And so we cannot discount that, although we want to reach the student directly, high school students, high school seniors, their parents are heavily involved in that process.
Yeah, that's a really interesting data point to look at. And then also even using it to understand, like, how should you communicate with the person? Maybe the younger generation wants to be texted more than called, right? And just really using data to kind of hone your communication strategy there.
Absolutely.
Do you use any kind of, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, the thing is, you cannot predetermine what they like or not. How do they like to communicate? So you would actually take a shotgun approach and just throw everything at them and see what they prefer, right? So you text them, email them, call them, and then one of those they're going to engage with, and that's probably the channel that you will choose to keep furthering that conversation.
Yeah, exactly. And not directly related, but kind of a similar concept is we've been hearing a lot about this multi-touch source attribution. So maybe someone gets a high school visit and they see someone from your college, but they don't request information at that point, or they go to some sort of other event or a conference, or they see an ad on Facebook and then they ultimately submit a lead on your website. Like, how are you handling kind of understanding the different marketing that is having an impact on your actual lead generation and understanding all of these different touches?
Well, I mean, the first point is, you have to attribute certain, we call them, to the lead sources, right? They when they come into your system, there should be something like a QR code or something that will show you what marketing campaign are they coming from. The other, and which is an old school approach, and we still do it up until this day, is ask the students, so how do you hear about us? Right? And they will tell you, oh yeah, I mean, I had this visit at the high school, I saw that, and then, I went on social media, all of a sudden there's an Instagram ad that came up, and that's how I engaged with you, right? So just ask him.
Yeah, that's great. The old school way. I love it.
Yeah, I don't think there's a better way as well.
There's a what? I'm sorry.
I was just saying, I don't think there's a better way to do that.
Yeah.
Just ask them.
Yeah, ask them.
Exactly. And so to that point, Najib, eventually you have to spend X dollars on your marketing. And then there are a lot of factors, like just what we just spoke about. Where are the students hearing about you? The kind of student or the lead quality that is coming from each source. Eventually, what are you looking at to decide that I have X marketing dollars to spend, and which source should I spend or invest that in?
So you look at, well, you have to measure this. If you can, I had a great mentor years ago. He used to teach. He was a math major. He said, Najib, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it, right? So you have to measure what you get. So if your measurements are, promising on one lead source, then you would, invest more into that lead source to get, to maximize your return. Right. So if you have an underperforming lead source, let's say you advertise on Yelp and you put in, I don't know, $10,000 a month into Yelp, and you receive 2 leads, and you see you have invested $3,000 into Meta, and you receive 100 leads from them. So that's your first indicator, is the quantity. Then you see out of those, 2 to 5 leads from Yelp, how many convert, right? And what percentage do they convert? And say, there's about a, with 5, of course, your conversion rate's going to be much higher. But, say it's like 20%. And then you look at the 100 leads and you convert at 20% as well. So you get in 20 out of the 100, right? Versus only 2 out of or 1 out of the 5. And so you base your decision on that and said, okay, so my marketing dollars, I'm spending 10,000 on Yelp, get 5 leads, I get one conversion out of that, versus my Meta, I get 100 leads and I get 20 enrollments out of that. So yes, let me take some away from the Yelp, take 50% away from Yelp, and add $5,000 onto my Meta campaign, get that to $8,000, and exponentially increase my my lead flow. And if we can maintain that 20% conversion, goodness gracious, I don't have to worry about anything anymore. No more sleepless nights, no more worries. You just come to work and count your students. That's it.
Great. So, Najib, I want to come back to one of the first points we discussed, because this is all about increasing lead conversions. Right now, we understand from an industry perspective that once you get the lead to your campus, they are a hotter lead than others. But then the real trick is, how do we get them to the campus? Why are campus tours so important? Now, towards that, you spoke about the impact of personalization, because this lead obviously has options. They are evaluating multiple schools, they're evaluating multiple programs, and you are the ones who want to stand out, give them a curated or a very personalized experience, and make them come to your campus and eventually enroll and interview and enroll with you. Now, can you talk us through this process? Like, what is this personalized experience? Maybe what you're doing at California Career Institute, and how do you ensure that leads come to your campus, interview with you, and then eventually enroll?
Well, if, we had to refine our admissions department here. And what I found out is, reps would set the appointment and say, oh, great, they confirm, okay, so I will see you Wednesday at 1 p.m., whether it's an online appointment interview or whether it's an in-person interviews, and give them the directions and everything else. But I always put myself into the lead's perspective. I say, what reason are you giving me to come and speak with you? Have you given me a reason to actually come in and sit with you? It's that question they will not ask you, why should I show up for the interview? Right. The lead will never ask you that. And so that question, if we can satisfy that question and say, satisfy the question during the initial conversation with that potential student, we can increase our appointment show rate and our interview rate. And part of it is really asking, so Piyush, when you and I meet, what are the 2 or 3 major things that you need to get answered so I can be prepared for you, right? And I said, well, I need to know whether I can afford it, the schedule, and what does it take to get into your college? Simple as that. For example, and I said, okay, I'll have that ready, and I'll do even one better. I'll have the financial aid department ready for you. Also, I'm going to schedule them particularly for you, so when you come in, you can actually have a little bit time to sit down with our financial aid team and get some of the financial questions answered as well. Boom, now you give them a reason to show up, right? And so they show up, and then you do the interview, they get all of this stuff, and then, you want to increase your enrollment conversion. So again, there's a question they will never ask you. The student will never ask you, which is or ask the rep. And that question is, why should I trust you? Why should I trust you with my money and my time to come to your school versus the school down the road? Right? And so you have to satisfy that. And the way you satisfy it is by being sincere, compassionate, and showing a whole lot of empathy.
Right. So I think that answer actually touches upon a lot of the points that we discussed during this webinar. So once again, Najib, I want to thank you and the entire audience. We have some questions. So before we sort of hit our mark with respect to time, definitely want to take each and every one of them. And I urge everyone to please post their questions while we start from the top. So one of the first questions we have here, and Lauren, please do share your opinions as well. I'll open this to both of you. So the first question is, what is the industry standard time frame for speed to lead besides the poll results? And I think, Najib, you're the best person to answer that, having worked across different career training schools, different states. Is there an industry standard time frame for speed to lead, and do you see it changing?
So if you look at it, you have the largest schools that employ call centers. They're equipped with auto dialers. So when the lead comes in, it automatically dials that rep's phone and connects them with them. So within about 30 seconds to a minute, they will be contacted. So if you want to compete with them, then you would have to pick up your game and try to compete with that 1 minute speed to lead concept. The average is within, you want to contact them within about, 5 to 10 minutes while they're still on their device, while they're still searching, while they're still scrolling, so when that call, that text, that email comes in, they will answer you at a higher rate than waiting an hour or two. As a matter of fact, my marketing director performed a test and sent out to a random school, an inquiry. Mm-hmm. And that school did not contact him until 2 hours later, but he received information and material and requests to contact from 15 other schools. 15. Yeah. And they were not all local. I mean, they were, in different states. There were online schools, there were on-ground schools, local schools, but 15 other schools are trying to get his business within that 2-hour period. So you figure out how fast you want to get to that lead now.
Yeah, I would just say 3 things really quickly. One, because of the availability of like automated software now, it should be like you should be contacting them within a minute, right? Whether it's an automated text message, an email, it doesn't have to be a call always, but like reaching out and engaging. 2, I would say call your cell phone number from your work phone and make sure it doesn't come up as spam likely, or like check to see if it has your school's name. Because that would be a huge, like if you can have it pop up with your school's name, then they know they just requested information. Maybe they'll answer the phone. And same with your text message. Make sure you tell them who you're calling from or texting from. And then the third thing I would say is I totally lost it. So let's move. Lost my train of thought.
Some great points, because I think, I mean, instead of getting into that rat race of 30 seconds, 15 seconds, 5 seconds, it's about the lead wants to feel enabled. They want to feel engaged. And a call is maybe not the right way to do it for them. They want content. They want to learn more about your school. They want to learn more about the advisor. So that's where actually the entire concept of FlowStack also comes with, because we have these personalized microsites. And as soon as a lead signs up on the website, they are assigned an advisor, they start learning more about the program, and it happens on a beautiful user interface, which is personalized for them. So oftentimes that is what they're looking for. They want to establish that human connect, they want to learn more, and they want to continue evaluating rather than waiting for a phone call. So thanks, Christina. Thanks for that question. Really appreciate it. Let's move to Whisker Walker. The next question is, how would you deal with slow months when you're not really getting many leads in? Great question. Najib, you want to take a stab?
Absolutely. So we have received so many leads that we have not converted before. So you have a pool of leads, and you would want to establish not just, grab your leads and just put them into a bucket and just fire off and just try to contact every single person. So most of those older leads have notes. They've been contacted and they say, I can't do this right now, but I'm willing to do this maybe in 3 months, and then look at the date and see, if it's been 3 months or longer. And so there's a different approach. It's a slower approach because you have to weed through all of the leads to approach that person in that customized manner. But when you have, let's say, if you get 100 leads a month, for example, I'm just taking a random number. Let's say you get 100 leads a month or 100 leads a week. And now you have a lead slow month, for example, because your marketing department and corporate is deciding, okay, we're getting towards the end of the year, we need to go ahead and cut costs. And what we need to do is just kind of like slow down marketing. That's where they usually cut it at first. And then marketing is like, okay, so, if we cut it 30%, our leads are going to drop at least 30%, if not more. And now you're getting 30 leads, right? You get 30 leads versus your 100. And so you've been on this 80-mile-an-hour trend and just going and going and going and going, and all of a sudden you have to slow everything down. So take a different approach, take a more qualitative approach, and try to convert those 30 leads at a higher rate, number one. So if you were converting your leads at 10 to 12%, try to convert them at 18%, right? So you actually have the time now to spend with them on the phone, in person, to really go about all the details that they're looking for. And above and beyond that, look at your older leads. Go dig into that bucket and re-engage.
Great. Yeah, I mean, there's literally... Sorry, Lauren, go ahead.
I was just going to say, during slow times, we, like Najib said, really focused on the quality. And one thing that I feel like is a little bit of a lost art is writing handwritten note cards to people. And so when we did have slow times, we're like, okay, maybe take some time and go above and beyond and like write a card. If you've had a conversation with someone, congratulate them on, their new granddaughter or whatever. Like, what did you learn about them? And send some snail mail. Try to do things that make you stand out. I know it's kind of a longer play there, but just come up with creative ideas on building that quality when you have those slower months.
Great points. Yeah, I mean, there's literally a gold mine of leads who have dropped out or uncontacted. And I think it's the right time to sort of try and reach out to them during this slow time. Thanks, Whisker Walker, for that question. We'll move to Monica Raymond, who wants to learn what's the optimal goal, or what's your optimal goal for conversion rate inquiry to start?
The optimal one is 100%. You want to make sure that everybody converts. That's your optimal. But what is an acceptable and an industry standard is, it depends. You have niche programs that have less leads but convert at a higher rate. And then you have programs that are much broader and attract more people just to inquire, but they're not really serious. They just want to know a little bit more about it because they know somebody that is in the field, or they just had an interaction with somebody in that field. And so they want to learn a little bit more about it, but they're not as interested. So the niche programs usually convert higher because they already know. Like we have the vocational nursing program. I mean, you can't talk somebody out of that program. So, we got to make it tough for them to enroll and increase the entrance exam rates. We have to increase, we implementing the director of nursing interviews with them, and they're being very critical because, our starts are limited. We can only put 50 students into their class per cohort, and the cohorts are approved by the board. But then on the other hand, we have medical assisting leads. We get, I don't know, let's say if we get 200 leads for nursing, we get, a bunch of other leads for medical assisting, dental assisting, like the allied health programs. And, the demographic is very different. These are, the leads that don't have any background or experience or have never been in a true career field. They came straight out of high school and went and worked for some company. Or they're still in high school and they're trying to get something set up to where they can get into that entry-level field. So the optimal, what I have looked at and the way I measure it here is I look at my year-to-date number conversion over all the programs and to take the average and say, okay, this is my average for all programs. And in order to get there, all these programs have to hit at a certain number or at a certain rate. So ours is 11% across all programs. That means that my nursing programs have to convert at 15 to 18%. My sonography programs have to convert at 15 to 18, but then it allows for a lower conversion in my medical assisting and dental assisting program, right? So the average is 11%, 11 to 12%, which is about an industry average. Hope that answered the question.
Yes. Thanks, Monica. So Najib, Audrey Evans talks about the fact that she lives in Arkansas, capital city, and the competition there is brutal. Any experience with Arkansas or no question there, just a comment. Yeah.
So Arkansas College of Barbering and Beauty. Oh, great. I think I've heard of that school. But anyhow, Arkansas is, especially in the cosmetology field, they have a lot of small mom and pop, they're not corporate run, but they have a lot of beauty schools, barbering schools. And so, yes, there's some tough competition out there. I'm sorry, what was the question again?
No, just a comment on Arkansas. I think that's fine. We can move to the question.
Yeah, no, they have some stiff competition. So I know somebody that went out there and actually ran one of those beauty and barber schools, and she told me about the competition, and she was picking my brain. What can I do? And that's how I know about Arkansas.
All right. Thanks, Audrey, for sharing that. Valley Peters wants to check. So we are getting leads from our Meta and Google ad campaigns, and we start communicating with the leads, but they are not responding. So it seems like we are not getting to our target market yet. How do you better target students or refine marketing strategies who are more likely to enroll in our program?
The first question is, what's your speed to lead on those, right? Especially on the social media marketing. When you look at Meta, one of the key factors one of the changes that we have implemented is when we get Meta leads, we jump on the phone. We drop everything and just contact them. Doesn't matter who it is, just contact them. And that has helped us to improve and increase our conversions. Now, the Google campaigns, that really comes down to where you want to talk to your marketing team. Are we implementing and employing the right keywords, right? Do we have the right keywords? If the keywords is not right, you'll get leads, but they're not going to be quality leads. These are people that, for example, somebody is looking to, let's take the cosmetology school concept, right? They have a skincare program. And now you have a student that wants to become a dermatologist, and one of their keywords has, derma in their keywords, for them to generate a lot of leads. And, those are usually your third party marketers that, trying to show, hey, look, we generate all these leads for you. If you can convert, that's on you, right? That's usually the concept. But, if the keyword is not right and it does not speak to your actual program, that is one of the factors why you don't either contact them or you can't convert them. That's one of the challenges that we've seen, and we had to readjust our keywords, and now they're converting at a much better rate.
Got it. Thanks, Valley Peters, for that question. Angela Anorino has shared a benchmark. The current conversion rate at USTA in in Illinois is 75%. I think that's a great conversion rate. Thanks for sharing that benchmark, Angela.
Which conversion is that? That
Oh, yeah.
if you can, if you're there, because I mean, there's so many different conversions.
Yes.
I
Is
think
that
what we were
inquiry?
discussing was lead to enrollment. And if you lead to
Last one was
enrollment,
inquiry to start.
75%, pardon?
Yeah, that's incredible.
The earlier question was about inquiry to start. I'm also curious to know if this is inquiry to start or inquiry to interview. Do we? Yes, lead to
Oh,
tour.
lead to, okay, very good.
Great. Thanks for sharing that, Angela. Okay, so Lexi Narvaez has a question, and actually it is something I'm also curious about. So Najib, how much information should be given to the lead or a prospective student on the first contact?
They, in my opinion and from my experience, they should be given enough information to want to attend your information session or your interview. And that differs. So you cannot say, for Piyush, I'm going to give you, 50% off the entire enrollment process. And for Lauren, I'm going to give you 20% off all of that information. Maybe Piyush, that's maybe information overflow. And he's like, man, I'm confused now. I'm not going to show up. So there's a tactic, and you will find out how much you should give them while you're speaking with them. So when you are in that initial contact and you follow your headers, not like the framework of your conversation with that student, you'll find out, what floats their boat, what is important to them, right? What is important to them, and what do they need to focus on? Majority of the folks really want to know if they can afford the program. And whether the program's outcomes, the career field, is really what they have envisioned, right? So those are the things that need more in-depth conversation. So you want to just touch on certain things like, yes, this can be a lucrative career if you take it the right approach. We do have financial aid available to those who qualify. And as a matter of fact, when you come into our interview, or when we get on the information session, I will make sure that one of my financial advisors is ready for you to give you detailed information regarding your situation. I mean, now you give them, enough information, give them enough information to want to set an appointment and to show up for that appointment. I hope that answers the question.
I think great question. Thanks, Lexi Narvaez, for that question. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced any of the names, but that was one of the last questions. And Najib, but one last fun segment before we are about to hit the hour, is one book or movie recommendation that you'd like to give us, the audience.
Absolutely. So there's a book that is very beneficial to management, but also very beneficial to the reps to understand management. Right? Because, I see that a lot of reps, we're throwing a bunch of numbers at them, and they kind of know what it means, or they think they know what it means, or they assume. And, as a manager, you think like, hey, if I don't get any questions, I'm assuming they understand that. You just keep going with the same approach. But this book I actually gave to one of my teams, and it really helped them to elevate the performances and understanding the key metrics of admissions. That book is called Measure What Matters. It's by John Doerr. And it really hones in on the mechanism of key performance indicators, on, what do the numbers mean? And why are we measuring things a certain way? So that's my recommendation.
Great. Thanks for that, Najib. Lauren, a movie or a book?
Sure. And I just wanted to mention, I had one really incredible boss that hosted book clubs with all of his senior managers, and we would read books like Najib just mentioned and discuss them, and then discuss how to implement them. And I thought that was a really great professional development thing. I love, one of the books we read was The 4 Disciplines of Execution. It's very similar message to what Najib mentioned, like just giving them a really good understanding of like what the wildly important goal is and what you can do personally to get there. So Love that book and highly recommend doing like business book clubs with your people.
Excellent. So we are on the hour. Once again, Najib, thank you so much. I'll just take 10 more seconds to quickly summarize. We spoke about the importance of quantity of leads versus quality of leads, and how regardless, speed to engage and speed to lead is still critical, even if you're lead rich or lead poor. Personalization is key. Lead engagement is key. Leads should feel enabled. You need to create an experience or curate an experience that is personalized for them and helps them to continue their evaluation with your school and not with any other. We also spoke about the importance of empathy and establishing rapport and how that goes a long way versus just following a script. Following processes is important, but introducing empathy into the entire process is important as well. We spoke about how program-based assignment and expertise of reps is critical. We learned about multi-touch source attribution and how asking the lead, where did they hear about this program or your school, is very important just to learn if there are multiple sources in play and what should inform where are you spending your marketing dollars. So tracking that is extremely important. And one of the last things that we touched upon, which sort of closes the conversation, is that why should a student trust you? Why should they show up for the interview or a campus tour? We need to give them a reason to show up. We need to enable and engage them. We need to establish trust through empathy. They should trust us. They should trust the process. And we don't want to overload the student or the lead with information. We want to touch upon the key points and we want to give them enough to make them show up for that interview or campus tour. So that's a very quick summarization, but all of the audience will receive a recorded version of this session. And with that, once again, Lauren, thank you so much for joining this. And to our expert panelist, Najib, really appreciate your insights. As always, great to hang out with you. Thanks again. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.